Howdy. My name is Brenton Craggs, and I'll be your host this evening. I'm the chair of the Young Republicans of Montana, and tonight I'm sitting here with Mr. James Marshal.
Hi, Brenton.
James, why don't you introduce yourself for us? Who are you?
Well, my name is James Marshal, and I'm a Republican candidate running for House District 84. I grew up over in the Flathead Valley, graduated Flathead High School, and in the spring of my senior year, I traveled over here to Helena and visited the Coast Guard recruiter, where I signed up. And so when I graduated high school, I went directly into the Coast Guard. Spent 4 years in the Coast Guard, which, earned me the distinction of being a Coast Guard veteran. And, to back up a little bit, when I was in high school, I focused on drafting and a lot of shop classes. And so I had experience in mechanical drafting and architectural drafting. And then, like most high school students who have part-time jobs, I had one, and it was working for a residential builder. And so, when I completed my service to our country, it made logical sense to me to get involved in the building industry. And so after a couple of years of apprenticing in the different trades, I started my own business, and I've spent the bulk of my adult working career as a business owner.
Before we go any further, thank you for your service, James.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And, in recent weeks, obviously, you've become one of the most well-known candidates for political office in the state due to a newspaper article that made some very unflattering claims about you. Shall we dive into some of those?
Sure.
The article referenced really three sets of claims, starting with past allegations made against you by a family member. What can you say about those?
So several years ago, my stepdaughter, who was a minor at the time, had made an allegation against me. And so when allegations like that are made, the standard protocol for that is to issue a temporary restraining order while the authorities conduct their investigation. They found the allegations to be unsubstantiated, and there were no charges filed. So to end the matter, all parties agreed to a mutual no contact order.
Why a mutual no contact order? Isn't that a little bit odd?
It's my understanding that the court relies on things like a mutual no contact order as a way to move forward with those situations. The order itself is usually directed at a family dispute, and that neither party that's involved has any wrongdoing or anything. It's just a way to get everybody to move away from a stressful event and move on.
Well, and obviously this old allegation is trying to rear its ugly head and keep you from moving on, and it's unfortunately popped back up during your campaign. How do you respond to that?
Well, first off, we need to stop talking about this publicly. I mean, my stepdaughter, she's a young woman. She's not a political instrument. And to keep, going over unsubstantiated allegations that were resolved years ago only benefits my political opponent. That's what I think.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about these allegations?
Well, I do find it notable that my primary opponent and my stepdaughter's attorney are attending campaign events together. Now, I'll go ahead and let the voters of House District 84, come up with their own assumptions on that.
Well, let's move on to the second claim from the article.
Okay.
You have joined the ranks of political candidates who have been charged with a DUI.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, as much as I would like to tell you all of the details on that, because right now it is an active case, my attorney, wants to limit what's said about this so that the court can do its work. However, I do have a statement here that he has approved so that I can give the voters, the honesty and as much transparency as we can at the moment.
All right.
So
would you please read that for us?
Sure. In the statement, I've had no intention of denying it or pretending otherwise. This matter is still before the court, and my attorney has limited what I can say publicly, and I'm going to respect that. What I can tell you, and what my attorney has confirmed that I may state, is that I was cited on my own private property. I was not on a public road. There at no time was any member of the public or any other driver or any pedestrian at risk. That's the context. The case is before the court, and I'll let that process run its course.
James, I hear what you're saying, but there's going to be voters in your district that still view this as a character flaw. What do you have to say to those voters?
I'm not looking for special treatment. And I'm not looking for special treatment for my voters. What I would like is to be given the same fairness that any Montanan would deserve, and just let the court do its work.
Regarding that final claim from that article, are you a sovereign citizen and part of a group of organized sovereign citizens?
No.
Are you sure?
Positive. But, it's hard to be held accountable for a statement that is made in the heat of the moment and in a difficult situation, with something like that. I don't align with those beliefs or that ideology at all.
So you were not a participant in 2017 in any sort of housing fraud that was committed by a group of sovereign citizens that the FBI busted?
No.
Okay.
No. And at the same time, I would love to dive into that deeper and talk further with you on that, but however, that still is, part of my ongoing DUI case, and my attorney doesn't want me to be discussing those details. We want to let the court go ahead and do their job.
Well, your opponent has made these issues from this article a central part of his campaign strategy. What do you think of that strategy?
Well, the only thing I've really heard my campaign opponent talking about routinely at various events is that he was master at arms at the Capitol during the last legislative session. And all I hear him talk about is his past and mine. In my campaign, I want to look to the future, and I'm looking to the issues that the voters are bringing to me. The voters are tired of the government being in their wallets. They're more interested in protecting their property rights. They don't want the government, involved with their children as far as dictating their beliefs with their children. They're looking at real issues. The price of goods, the price of energy, taxes. Look at how much we're paying. Those are what the voters are coming to me with, and so I'm hoping that the voters will reward the campaign that works for them. And I'm hoping that campaign is the one that looks to the future and not the one that's just living in the past.
And I think a lot of young people have very similar concerns in our daily lives and just trying to get by. But a lot of us have also seen many candidates run and many politicians run saying very similar things, and we've been lied to over and over and over again. So why should the voters of House District 84 trust you?
Because I'm one of them. I'm a voter. I'm a man who's built things and done things, and that's what we need. We need citizen legislators who know how to build stuff. People who have raised their families, who've made payroll, who've been able to build and sustain a business in Montana. And with those experiences, I feel that makes me a qualified candidate to work for the people in my district. I'm not a career politician, and I don't owe politics anything. So when I go in there, I get to represent the people, not special interest groups, not any social ideologies. I'm going in there wanting to tackle the things that the voters have been bringing to me.
James, is there anything else you'd like to say to the voters?
Yes, I would appreciate if they judge me on my whole record. I'm a veteran. I've raised a family. I've built a business. I've had employees right here in the community who've had families. And again, I just want to be judged by my record. I'm not looking for any special treatment. I'm not looking for any special treatment from the voters, but I would like to be, given a fair shake, like all Montanans deserve. And, in the midst of all these things, let the court do its work, and, judge me on, what I've done over my lifetime.
Well, James, it was a pleasure speaking with you.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I appreciate the fact that you're not making assumptions and you're just coming directly to me and asking me about these things. My intention has always to been honest with not only the political party, but the voters. That's who I'm wanting to work for. I want to work for the voters. I want the voters, when they vote for me, to not feel like they're just picking the lesser of two evils. I want them to be excited about voting for me. I want them to be excited that they've got a man who's just like them, who's been living with the same problems with government, taxation, overreach, property rights, all of those things. I'm just like them, and I think, given the experiences of my life, I've proven that in the face of adversity, I have the strength to follow through and do what they're going to be hiring me to do.
Thank you, James.
Okay, thanks, Brenton.